Okay, welcome to our discussion. So, in today's topic, we will learn about the cable and SFP modules. We will start with the cable. So, this is the common cable that we are using for the copper Ethernet cable. We have category 5E, category 6A, and category 6. So, for category 5E, it can carry until 1 GB, 400 meter. It can also carry 1G. It PoE support and it will be suitable for the home or basic office networking. However, for category 6A, it also can carry until 1G. In the distance of 100 meter, it can carry 1G, but in the distance for 55 meters, it can carry until 10G. It also can carry the PoE support and it is suitable for the business network or sometimes it's like in our office. However, for category 6, it can carry until 10 Gbps, and the distance distance can until 100 meters, and also can carry 10G. It is support PoE support, and also it's good for the data centers and enterprises. However, the price will be a little bit more expensive than the other two cable. Okay, for example, if we already choose which type of cable that we want to use, then we need to uh, connect it into our RJ45 pin out. So for example, here we have pin 1 until pin 8. So every pin will be carry the different data and different power usage. Okay, the next one we will learn about the fiber cable. There are two differences in fiber. The first one is multi-mode, or sometimes we call MMF, and the second one is a single mode or SMF. The multi-mode cable usually will be colored in amber and blue or a little bit bluish. However, for the single mode, it will be colored in yellow. So what's the differences between this cable? So the differences is located in the core. For example, the amber one, the core is bigger than the bluish one. However, for the single mode, the core is relative very small here. So the bigger the core or the diameter of the core, the lesser or the fiber optic will be bouncing like this, and it will cause the shorter distance. So for the multi-mode, it has a shorter distance than single mode, so it can be until less than 2 kilometers. However, for the single mode, it has the small fiber diameter or the core diameter, so the fiber optic just go through the core, so it will have the longer distance from the multi-mode. It can until 100 or 120 kilometers. So the next one is the fiber interface. This is the common fiber interface in industrial networking industrial. We have LC connector or Lucent connector. We have SC connector or subscriber connector. We have FC connector or ferrule connector. And the last one is ST connector or straight tip connector. Okay, the next one is SFP fiber module. There are two differences fiber module. The first one is BD, or sometimes we call it bidirectional, and the second one is non-BD or non-bidirectional. This is Orange brand. So for Orange brand, we are supporting on BD side, we are supporting fast Ethernet, multi-mode and single mode, and gigabit Ethernet, only the single mode. And for the non-BD or non-bidirectional, we are supporting fast Ethernet, gigabit Ethernet, and 10G Ethernet in multi-mode and single mode. So what's the difference between BD and non-BD? For the BD, they have the characteristic as follows. The first one is the BD SFP modules only have one core here, or sometimes we call it a simplex. It has specific match wavelength for the transceiver and receiver, and it's more expensive than non-BD, However, it will be has a low cable cost because it only using one cable here and must use BD on the both ends. So if switch A using the BD SFP modules, switch B also need to use the BD SFP modules. And for the non-BD or non-bidirectional, the characteristic is they have two core here, or sometimes we call it duplex. We need the same wavelength transceiver for transceiver and receiver, and it's cheaper than BD. However, it has a high cable cost because it will be using two cable here. And then if you are using the SFP-A in the switch A, you are also need to use the SFP-A on the switch B. So we just like it must use identical SFP on both ends. Okay, this is like the first column here is the most important information in SFP fiber module. For example, the fiber mode, we have multi-mode or the single mode here, and typical distance, because multi-mode has only until 2 kilometers. So as you can see here, it's just only support 150 meters or 2 kilometers. However, for the single mode, it can support until from the 10 kilometers until even 120 kilometers. And then for the operating temperature, we have two different category. The first one is without eye model, and the second one is with eye model. So the differences is like the eye model is for the industrial, so it can be support minus 50 degree until 85 degrees Celsius. And then for the wavelength here, because this SFP module is the non-BD, so the transceiver and the receiver in the wavelength has the same number here. For example, like the transceiver and receiver wavelength in here is 850, 1310. The higher and the longer the distance, it will be have the higher number of the wavelength here. So for example, I have two switch here, switch A and switch B. I want to connect these two switches with the SFP or the fiber. So I'm choosing SFP1G LX40I. SFP1G LX40I. So for the neighbor, it's better to use identical SFP modules here. So I also using the SFP1G LX40I. Okay, for the next one is SFP fiber module for BD or bidirectional. The differences is in the wavelength here. They have different transceiver and the receiver here. So for example, if I have two switches, switch 1 and switch 2, or switch A and switch B, and I want to connect these two switches, the switch A or switch 1, I chose SFP1G B3, SFP1G B3 LX40I. And it has the transceiver here is 1310, and then the receiver is 1550 here. 1310 and the receiver is 1550. However, for the switch B here, because in switch A the transceiver is 1310, in the switch B the receiver is supposed to be 1310. In the switch A, the receiver is 1550. The transceiver is supposed to be 1550 on switch B. It's like this. So which SFP module is required for the switch B is here. SFP1GB 5LX40. The next one is a SFP RJ45 module. It just connected our RJ45 into the SFP module. We have three different types here. We are supporting 1G and 10G. We have SFP1GRJ, and with the dash I means for the industrial. The differences is in the operating temperature. If the switch has dash I or industrial, it can be support from minus 40 degree until 85 degrees Celsius. and we also support SFP 10G RJ. It's a 10G based transceiver. However, for the SFP RJ45 module, it support only fixed speed here, so we cannot reduce like 10 or 100 or 1G. So if you are choosing SFP 1G, it only support 1G speed configuration. If you are choosing the SFP 10G, it only support the 10G speed configuration. The speed already fixed. So these are our SFP modules. We have the SFP fiber module, we have BD and non-BD, and we have SFP RJ45 module that will connect it to our RJ45. So for the SFP fiber module that we are selling, all the SFP fiber module are connected into LC connector or Lucent connector. And for our RJ45, it just connected into our RJ45 type A. Okay, thanks for today.